The woodcutter had watched the craving loosen. He had seen the reaching, named it, and for a moment, just a moment, he had been free of it. But that evening, back in his village, something else happened. He sat by the fire with his family, the warmth, the laughter, the familiar smell of smoke and wood. And without realizing it, he thought, This is what I live for. This must never change. This must always be here. The craving had quietly become something else, something tighter, something deeper. The Buddha called it Upādāna, clinging. Upādāna is the 9th link in the chain of dependent origination. It arises from tanha, from craving. But where craving is a reaching, clinging is a gripping. Where craving says more, clinging says mine. The Pali word Upādāna originally referred to the fuel that feeds a fire, the kindling that keeps it burning. And this is exactly what clinging does. It is the fuel of becoming, the substance that keeps the wheel of suffering turning. The Buddha taught 4 kinds of clinging. The first is Upādāna, clinging to sensual pleasures. Not just wanting the beautiful, the delicious, the comfortable, but needing it. Building your sense of well-being around it, believing that without it, you cannot be okay. The woodcutter needed the fire, needed the laughter, needed this exact evening to repeat, forever. The second is Upadana, clinging to views and opinions, the beliefs we have gathered across a lifetime, political convictions, philosophical positions, ways of seeing the world, not held lightly, but gripped, as though to let them go would be to let ourselves go. The third is Upadana, clinging to rules and rituals, the practices, the traditions, the routines we mistake for the destination itself, polishing the boat and forgetting we were meant to cross the river. The fourth, and the deepest, is Upadana, clinging to the belief in a fixed self, the story of me. The sense that behind all experience there is a permanent, unchanging someone who owns the feelings, who controls the thoughts, who must be protected at all costs. This is the root clinging, the one beneath all others. Think about where clinging lives in your own life, the relationship you cannot imagine losing, not because love is wrong, but because you have wrapped your identity around it. The opinion you defend loudly in conversation, not because truth matters, but because changing your mind feels like losing yourself. The daily ritual you perform rigidly, not from devotion, but from fear of what happens if you stop. The image of yourself, capable, kind, spiritual, successful, that you quietly, constantly protect. These are the 4 faces of clinging. And the Buddha was not teaching us to become cold, or indifferent, or empty. He was pointing to something precise, the difference between loving and gripping, between practicing and hiding inside the practice, between having a self and being enslaved to its story. That night, the woodcutter watched the fire slowly die down. One by one, the family went to sleep. The laughter faded, the warmth cooled, and he noticed the tightness in his chest return. Not because anything had been taken, but because the clinging had made impermanence feel like a threat. He sat in the quiet. And he tried something the forest had taught him. He let the fire be a fire, rising, burning, falling, without needing it to mean something permanent. He let the evening have been what it was, complete in itself, without demanding that it last. He let his family be people he loved, not possessions he owned. And in that releasing, not of them, but of the grip, something breathed open in him. The Buddha said, "Clinging is what fuels becoming. When we cling, we are always in the process of becoming someone who has this, who holds this, who is this, and from becoming, birth. And from birth, the whole cycle of loss and longing continues. But when clinging is seen clearly, when the grip is noticed without judgment, the fuel begins to thin. The fire still burns, but it burns without consuming. In the next episode, we follow the woodcutter into the 10th link, bhava, becoming, where clinging shapes not just this moment, but the very conditions of what we continue to be. If this teaching is helping you see the places where you grip, and the freedom that lives just beneath the grip, please subscribe and continue walking this path with us. The fire does not need to last forever to have been worth every moment of its warmth.